All right. So, a couple of years down the road, you actually find yourself walking down an actual road.
Okay.
You're walking home, you have started like a passion project basically
Okay.
where
What
you
what am I
you're
sorry.
you're selling slices of pizza on the side of the road.
Why?
So you recently invented this thing where you were like, hey, look, people love slices of pizza. However, and like, you like pizza too, and you were thinking about getting to the pizza game, but your whole thing was
Why am I
like,
thinking about getting into the pizza game? Like I know the kind of like time and dedication and energy and skill it takes to like run to do that. I don't have any of that.
yeah, but that's because you realize that you like wanted to do run your own pizza business, but you were just like paralyzed with fear until you realized that you're like, if I just did it like by the slice instead, that wouldn't be as hard to do. And so
I'm
you
still
you would
making full pizzas.
so what it is you invent a the world's first pizza slice oven where it's you people come to your little like you have a thing set up on the side of the road, almost like the Lucy's psychiatry business or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
The little fucking stand
Yeah.
that I
So you're
some hobbled together piece of shit.
yeah. And it says on top, uh it says uh Cool Aaron's Pizza Zone. And so people come to you and they're like, yeah, give me a slice of uh pepperoni and green peppers, please. And so you're able to make it to order. So you're able to make slices of pizza fully customizable within just a few minutes. The only issue is that you're trying to work on a way around this. You can only do one slice at a time at Cool Aaron's Pizza Zone.
Why would I
But
restrict? I'm
because
trying
you
to
just
run
feel
a
like it's
business
easier to
here.
do. If you feel like it's easier to just do like a slice as opposed to like a full pizza, you know?
This is not a
I mean, at
viable
this point,
business plan.
at this point, you could probably do a full pizza. You're probably good enough. But the whole thing about Cool Aaron's Pizza Zone is it's pizza by the slice. And it's a total impulse buy for people. They just drive and they see, a big sign about, a pizza place, and they'll be like, you know what, I am kind of hungry, and they'll pull over to the side of the road
And order
and
one slice, no more.
well, maybe I mean they might order like two or three, but you can only make one at a time.
This sucks.
So you
This sucks. This is gonna take so fucking long. What am I doing with the time that the pizza is in the oven?
you just usually
I'm
you
just
just kind
stand.
of you just stand there and you look
What the fuck? I
at the
wouldn't.
customer and you can make small talk if you want. It depends upon your mood. Sometimes you'll talk to the customers and stuff, take an interest in, their lives and stuff.
How long
Sometimes
does
if
it
you're in a
take to
bet,
make per slice
it takes about
from order to
7 minutes.
service? From order to service, it takes 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
So I can at best, I mean, what, 7 minutes? I can make nine of these things an hour. How much am I charging for them?
You've decided to start off like keep your prices down because you're new, and you want to inspire, brand loyalty. So you sell them for 250.
Are you fucking kidding me, Pat? Are you serious?
It's for a limited time.
Are you fucking kidding me? I can make seven of these an hour and I'm making less than $10 an hour, right? No. I'm very high. What's
Um,
seven times two and a half?
it's like
Okay, it's less than I'm making
it's
less
like
than $20
17.
an hour.
Yeah, it's like 17 or so.
17.50.
Yeah, but
And
you think to
they're making
yourself,
17.50 an hour, Pat. How much is it costing me to make these seven pizzas? What are my
well,
margins like? They got to be
you're
razor thin.
quite as thin
Pat,
so the margins on this are not quite as thin as you might think.
how? How? I'm
Um,
making. I have dough costs, sauce. I'm serving meat on these, and that's not ever cheap. And plus, I have like a special oven.
this is a passion project. It's not about the money right now. It's about getting started, you know? It's about establishing yourself. When you start your own business, you really can't afford to, the experts say you even really can't afford to pay yourself for the first, year,
I'm not expected to pay
It's not your
myself, but
only
how?
it's not your only job or anything. You're still doing
Man, that makes it even worse. That makes it so much worse. Is that I can at max crank out seven slices an hour, and I'm severely limiting how much time I'm doing this. I'm like
yeah,
the
but
juice
you're
is not
like
worth the squeeze on this one.
right, but you're in a spot where there's not a lot of places for people to stop for food. So
It doesn't
especially at
matter if I'm doing them one at a time.
you
Like you're
do them at
insisting that I'm doing, and
you do,
I'm just hanging out.
yeah, and you're thinking about like as you're making them, and you're just kind of standing there like in silence with like in the darkness because you're only open at night. You just kind of like stand there and like you guys look
Are
at
you
each other
fucking
and
kidding me?
and you'll be like, "Hey, maybe I should get like two of these things," and the guy would be like, "Yeah, I guess." But that's part of the charm of Cool Aaron's Pizza Zone.
This is
You're
not
doing that.
charming.
You're just
This sounds so fucking frustrating. I'm only open at night. I can at max make
yeah.
$17.50 an hour
When the sun goes
before.
down, that's
Oh,
when the oven starts a cranking. That's your
so in the
motto.
summertime, it's much less, several hours less than what it is this time of year. Like this sucks. You have yet to present any any point of this business plan that feels good. Every single thing about it,
What do
it
you
only
mean?
gets worse.
You're providing the people on the road with
Am I?
hot, yeah, hot, tasty pizza
One
when,
slice every 7 minutes? People are just standing there waiting for me,
well,
and
if you
I'm talking to them or I'm not.
increase the prices, maybe you'd be able to afford two of them. But so you're doing that, you're
This
walking
fucking
back,
sucks.
you walk back home to catch a couple hours of sleep before your day job.
What's my fucking day job?
So, a few years down the road, you actually work uh with this guy. His name is, well, you just call him Joe the Animal.
God damn it, Joe the
His name,
animal.
yeah, his name is Joe the Animal Lancy. Uh, he works with like animal control, and you work with him. You guys, he worked with animal control for a long time. Now he's like freelance. And so he needs people to work with him, and you're kind of his apprentice.
His apprentice.
Yeah. And you're like, and you're like, yeah, like the TV show. Remember that? And he's like, yeah. And then it's like kind of feels awkward.
Yeah.
You don't know who you voted for. So the next day, you wake up. You wake up after your few hours of shut eye. You walk outside, and Joe drives his work truck is this like it's like a large like van. It's not really a truck, I guess. His work van. Um It's white and in red like rock and roll letters on the side it says Joe the animal, animal control.
I love it. I'm
So
happy he's being an entrepreneur.
and yeah, dude, and to be honest with you, business has never been better.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, there was an incident where like terrorists they tried to like poison like the drinking well, not the drinking well, drinking water of Los Angeles, but they screwed up and it they only poisoned like water that like animals drink out of, like rivers and stuff.
So, yeah.
And so they poisoned the animals' water supply. And so a lot of animals have been acting like kind of crazy lately. And so you guys are taking full advantage, you know? I don't mean that in a
Yeah,
negative way. I just mean taking, you guys are taking advantage of the situation.
we're
Business,
opportunists, I guess.
yep. Hey, animal control is your business and business is good. That's what it says on the other side of the truck of the van, I mean. Uh, but in the same red rock and roll letters. Animal control is my business. Dot dot dot. And business is good. So you hop into what you think of as Joe's battle van. You hop in. He's like sitting there. Joe the animal is a he's an older guy, he worked animal control for the city for a long time. Now he's on his own. Um his name is Joe the animal because that was his nickname when he was like a boxer when he was young. He's got like you look at him and you think to yourself, like, you're pretty sure Joe doesn't like work out or anything like that. But he just still has those big fucking pythons
Yeah,
on his arms. Yeah.
big pipes.
Yep. His
Mm.
pythons have python tattoos on them.
How on the nose? The animal.
Joe's a pretty on the nose kind of guy. So you hop into the battle van and he's like, "Hey, how are you?" And you're like, "Hey, Joe." And you look down, you see those fucking pythons. And as he like, you know, moves the wheel, his like pythons, his like muscles flex involuntarily, and you swear that you see that python, the actual python tattoo, like kind of like move from side to side, and like it winks at you and like
As
goes
if
like
it
like sticks its
winks
tongue
at
out and
me.
shit. Yeah.
That
Well, that I mean, you don't know if it actually does, but that's just kind of what it looks like, you know.
that sucks.
As Joe the animal's muscles, they move like fucking like waves in the deep sea. So you guys take off. You guys are heading to. You guys got a an emergency phone call that morning to go to today's assignment, and he is, filling you in on it as you guys are heading towards it. He's like, he goes on to tell you that they got a phone call. There is a like a summer camp, and they called in because they're like, yeah, we think there's some kind of wild animal loose. We found like some mauled animals, uh, but we're a little like confused because we also are seeing like footprints walk away.
Like human footprints.
Well, that's the thing. They don't really look human. They look almost like bestial. And Joe looks at you and he goes, Aaron, I think this is the big one. If this is what I think it is, this is going to make us very wealthy men. He goes, "Do you get what I'm trying to say here, Aaron?"
No. What do you think it is?
He looks at you and he goes, "I think it's the Yeti, Aaron. I think it's Bigfoot." He turns on the radio. Welcome to the Jungle plays.
From the beginning?
Yeah, like you know the big like dramatic introduction.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, there was like a problem at the radio station that they weren't able to fix, so they just play that song on a loop. Like it just plays over and over and over again. So you guys just listen to it for like the a few several times before you realize what's going on. So anyway, so he gets to this place. It's the campsite. It's the summer camp. It's called Camp Terror.
Why would you send your child to that place? Why on earth would you hear of a place called Camp Terror and send your child there long enough for it to be in business to the point that it requires a sign? What the fuck? Camp
So
Terror?
it's called that because it was endowed by the Terror family. They are
Call
like
it anything else. Call it anything else.
they wanted to honor this family. They
Yeah,
were like
phrase it in a way that doesn't make it sound nightmarish.
these guys are like millionaire philanthropists. Everyone in the area knows the Terror family. Well, they did before they all died gruesomely.
Jesus Christ.
So
What do you mean by
anyway,
gruesomely?
they were just all found in their the Terror family. They lived in this like, to be honest with you, like spooky as fuck house that kind of overlooked like you know the the townspeople, and it was painted completely black, and the Terror family, while generous with their money, were kind of reclusive. So people didn't see them for like years. They didn't think anything of it, and then eventually someone had to go up there to look for something, like do like a census, And when they got there, the door was unlocked, and they opened it, and like the entire family had been like butchered like long ago. No, they couldn't tell, you know, how long. They couldn't estimate it, because for some reason the inside of their house, of the Terror family's like creepy mansion, it was so cold that it actually like preserved the bodies. So the bodies looked as if they had only just been deceased for 2 or 3 minutes, but they had been there for like decades.
Stays that cold year round.
Well, inside the creepy mansion.
It
But the thing
maintains a temperature cold enough to make them look preserved year round, all year.
But people, the locals, they prefer to not dwell on the unpleasant end of the Terror family. They choose to remember them for the good that they did while they were alive. And one of those things is they endowed this summer camp. And so Camp Terror, despite its kind of strange name, it's actually like a really well kept place. And they only hire they only hire like the most highly decorated camp counselors that exist. I'm talking like you have to be to even get an interview at Camp Terror, you have to be referred by at least three current or former employees to even be like considered
Considered.
for an
Damn.
interview. Yeah. And even with that, if they decide, yeah, maybe we'll interview, they do like full background checks on you and stuff like that. You won't even know that you're being followed. And
Being followed.
yeah, it's very deep, like a very deep background check. And so it's so it's actually like a really great place to send your kids. Um, you know, they're gonna be well taken care of. So send your kids there and enjoy your marriage again. That's one of their like marketing
One
things
of one of
is
them. What's another one? Take your kids there, enjoy your marriage again.
yeah. Another one is Camp Terror. What's in a name? And then like it's always that's always accompanied by like showing all the like the wonderful things happening at Camp Terror, where there's like like a slip and slide. There's like kids jumping off of ropes into like the lake and stuff like that. um there's like kids learning like outdoor skills and stuff like that. They're showing footage of like a talent show. If you win the talent show at Camp Terror, it is $150,000.
Holy shit.
That's part of the endowment from the
What?
Terror family. Yeah.
$150,000?
Yeah, dude. So it's a very competitive camp talent show. So anyway, so you guys are driving to Camp Terror, and Joe the animal is talking to you, and he's saying to you, and like he just kind of keeps saying over and over again. It's a thing where he's talking to you, but he's staring straight ahead, and he is gripping the wheel of the car very tightly. And you kind of get the feeling that he is talking to you, yeah, but he's mostly just kind of talking to himself. He just keeps saying the same things over and over again. Like, all right, here it comes, the big one. Okay, you can do this, Joe. This is the
Just
big
these
one, Aaron.
self-affirmations.
Yeah, and he keeps saying like this is the big one, and finally, and then he goes, "It's not every day you get a second chance."
What?
And you kind of look over and you go like, "What do you mean, Joe?" And he kind of like his eyes like harden, and he tells you the story of he basically said he looks at you and he goes, "Aaron, this is not the first time that I've tangled with Bigfoot." He
Oh
goes
yeah.
on, yeah, he goes on to tell you his first year as animal control, uh he had a mentor, kind of who like how, Joe the animal was your animal control mentor. His mentor was a old school guy, from like
Had to be.
yeah, back in the day. And you know how in like Mad Men, it's like these ad executives, but like, they're constantly drunk and partying and like trying to cheat on their wives, and it's just like all the craziness that happens at like a place like that.
Sure.
It's exact, it's just like that in the animal, like back in the day in the animal control game, like in like the 50s and 60s. Oh my God, the stuff that they would do that you would not be able to get away with in like today's culture. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like he doesn't really elaborate, but like you feel like even though you don't actually know what he's talking, like you can't think of any concrete examples, but you kind of feel in your gut like you're like, I kind of think I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
This guy comes from that school of that era rather of animal control. His name was uh his name was Michael Michael O'Keegan, but everyone just called him Mick. And Mick O'Keegan was a hard ass, you know. He really, really was. And it's a thing where Joe is like, even though it's like he's like, yeah, it's like the way they trained us back then. He's like, you know how they in the Catholic schools, the nuns used to hit you with like rulers and stuff? He's like, yeah, it's kind of like that, except, with bigger rulers.
It's animal control of a bygone era.
And, exactly. But he's like, but Mick had a lot of affection for him, you know? He showed it in a gruff old school way, but he knew. On the last day of his apprenticeship, that he and Mick were actually tracking what Mick believed was Bigfoot. At the time, Joe the animal didn't believe in the Yeti, so he's like, all right, whatever. This is just some kind of like prank that the old man's doing, you know, as some kind of like, I'll see you off with some kind of silly dumb thing. Oh yeah, we're gonna go after Bigfoot, whatever. But it was real. Bigfoot like crashed through the fucking forest at them. And he killed Mick. Mick pushed Joe out of the way at the last second and like took the you know, full brunt of Bigfoot. And he yelled like, "Run away!" And Joe's like, "I can't." He's like, "You have to. I love you." Like runs away, like super dramatic. But
Well, I mean,
anyway,
yeah, I mean, a man is dying.
yeah. And they never found the body of Mick O'Keegan. Some say that because he never received a proper funeral, uh, those the woods behind the GameStop, where there's a GameStop now, the woods behind the GameStop is like where he haunts. But it's really neither here nor there. But anyway, so he's
Jesus
like,
Christ.
I kind of have a bone to pick with Bigfoot, basically. He's like, if this is really who I think it is, if it is Bigfoot, I owe Mick everything. I need to take him down. I need to, do one for Mick. He looks over at you and he goes, Aaron, this could get a little hairy. He's like, I've decided that this is your final test before finish your apprenticeship. He goes, all I have to ask is if it gets crazy out there, you got my back. And you just
Of
like,
course, Joe.
yeah, you look at him, you just look him right in the eye, and you don't fucking blink. You just say, from day one, Joe, I've had your back from day one. And he like nods and he's like, yeah. So you guys reach Camp Terror. Yeah, it's still Welcome to the Jungle. Yeah. And that's when you realize like this is like the fourth or fifth time that we've heard this. Um, so you guys get to Camp Terror, uh, and the head counselor is this very like prim, you know, definitely like prim, proper, old money type of type of dude. He's like you walk up to him, he reaches out his hand to you guys. He's like, "Hello, my name is Montrose uh Connorson the third." He goes, and then he kind of like looks at you and he goes, "Of the Connorson family."
Yeah, that's what your last name implies.
The Connorson family, they have been at there's been an unbroken line of Connorson men who have served as head counselor at Camp Terror since it was like enacted. And so he's like definitely has a very lofty view of himself. You can tell. Next to him is he's like this is my assistant, Cassandra. And
It's casino. Okay.
you look over. Cassandra is a woman. She looks like a little younger than you, about, and you look at her, and it's this weird moment that happens. This is the first time you've ever laid eyes on this woman, but you literally feel like your breath is being taken, is like taken away.
Take my breath away.
You start
Dun,
humming that
dun,
song,
dun, 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 dun.
and as you look at her, you realize that like she's also humming that song,
What?
but she kind of has like a sad look on her face almost.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
anyway, so you guys explore the woods for a while, and you guys actually end up getting like lost in the woods for a while. So by the time you get back to Camp Terror, it's like it's very dark out. And also the van won't start. You guys left it you guys left it on, I guess.
Why are we leaving the fucking van on, Pat?
I don't know.
We're
Joe's
not
getting
leaving
up
the
there in
van
age.
on.
Joe's getting up there in age and maybe he just forgot. I don't know. I mean,
Who
maybe you should
forgets
have
this?
double checked, but who knows. So basically they're like, well, you guys can just, stay here for the night. He's like, we actually have like, guest suites ready for you. And you're like, oh, cool. And you see that Cassandra is like, she kind of like, it's almost like she can't help but like perk up at the news, but she still
Why
looks.
aren't we just calling fucking roadside assistance and having them bring us a gallon of gas so we can get back to town? Why the fuck aren't we doing that? Because this is not
At
something that would warrant staying at a stranger's home.
well, no, it's like camps, it's like a campground, but you
Yeah, but
tried
it's like
that, but all of right now, there was what is it called with the those like those cars, those trucks fight each other?
like
You know
a
what I'm talking
demolition
about?
derby.
Yeah. So there was a demolition derby in town, and all of roadside assistance was
All
like
the fucking
required.
wreckers are there. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking
So
serious?
so they're like, yeah, well, it's no big deal. Like you can stay here.
No,
It's like
no, it is a big deal. This doesn't require an overnight stay. There's got to be
well,
a way
I
to go get
mean,
a gallon of gas.
man, you'd think, but it is sort of like an isolated area too.
Jesus Christ.
So you guys are like, well, whatever. Like if and Joe looks at you and he goes, yeah, it's kind of weird. He goes, but if there's a place that we have to stay for the night, at least it's a nice place like this, and it is nice. You guys go into the mess hall to eat, and they have like a 5-star chef working there. Chef Andrew Price. And the food there fucking rules. Like it's really good. And so you're like, you
Andrew
decide, you're like,
Price.
yeah, you decide to stick
Okay.
around. Yeah, he's a guy who he
Mhm.
used to be like a you kind of get the feeling he used to be in like law enforcement or something, and now he's
Yeah.
like a chef. Yeah, but 5 stars. 5 very bright stars. So Joe the animal, he heads back to the guest suite a little bit early, and you're like, you decide to stick around for dessert. You're sitting there, and you look up, and suddenly, like sitting across from you, is that woman Cassandra. And she's just kind of like looking at you. What do you say? Do you say anything?
I would probably nod my head hello, but I'm not engaged. I'm not engaging.
Yeah. You look at her and you have to fight to make sure your breath isn't taken away again, you know?
Boom, 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 boom,
And she looks at you and she
boom,
goes,
boom, boom, boom,
Aaron,
boom,
she just
boom,
sighs and she
boom,
goes,
boom, 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 boom,
what I'm about to say is gonna sound a
boom,
little, well,
boom,
impossible.
boom, 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 boom,
She goes,
boom,
Aaron,
boom, 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 boom,
do you know what a time loop is?
boom, 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 boom. Uh, I mean, I'm sure there's a technical definition for it, but based on what those words mean, yeah. Are you talking about like a Groundhog Day scenario?
And she like nods. She goes, yeah, definitely a Groundhog Day scenario. She goes, huh, that's so funny. That's what you said last time.
God damn it.
And she goes, Aaron, look, this is gonna sound crazy, but I've been stuck in a time loop for quite some time. And I'm able to get, further and further. But she like looks at you and she goes, Aaron, I have spent entire like entire lifetimes coming to this point. And she's like and she's like, this is the farthest that I've ever got. And she's like, I can tell that like you don't believe me, or maybe you think I'm like nutty or something like that. And she goes, okay, three that and she kind of points over at a like at the light bulb above you guys, and she goes, the light bulb is gonna shatter in three, two, one, and just like shatters, you know?
Why is the light bulb just shattering
I
out of
don't know.
nowhere
I don't know. Faulty, I guess. But
to
she
exist as a plot point?
and she like is able to she knows where all the shards are gonna land, it seems like, because she's able to grab them
What?
like out of the air, you know?
She knows where the shards are. She's done this so many times. She knows where the shards are going to land.
Yeah.
God damn it.
And she goes, and two of the camp counselors are going to be found having an affair in the supply closet in three, two, one. And then like you hear like just in the distance, like, oh my God, an affair.
So it must have come true.
And she looks at you and she just goes, all right, I can tell you're still not convinced. She goes, Aaron, I know you better than anyone's ever known a human being. She's like, she goes, there's just been like multiple points in my time loop journey that I've delayed meeting you because it just leads to just heartbreak every single time when I have to go away. But our paths just keep crossing. It doesn't really matter. So let's just get it over with. And then she just like rattles off a bunch of like facts about you that like she would have no business. There's no way she could know it. You know what I mean?
But every time we meet, it ends in heartbreak. So I'm just spending this time loop getting my fucking heart broken by this woman.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess
That's what it sounds like.
she's like, and she looks and she goes, do you believe me?
Yeah, fine.
And she's like, yeah, I'm in a time loop romance with you, babe. And she like reaches her hand out and like covers your hand. And it feels like it kind of feels oddly familiar, you know?
Yeah.
And then she goes, Aaron, I have to stop fighting this. She like gazes deep into your eyes and she goes, You're mine forever.
The fuck?
And you're like, and like, you're not totally sure what to say. So you go, you just say, okie dokie, artichoke.
Oh no, I would
And then
say
she,
something like that.
and then like, she smiles. And then she's like, all right, well, sorry about this. I've just had enough of this shit. And then she gets up and like walks away. And you're like, what the fuck did that mean? And then and she goes, oh, by the way, look up. And you look up and like
What the fuck?
a piece of
What the
like
fuck?
the chandelier above you is like falling down on you, and you go like, what
Why
the
is this
hell? It
place falling apart?
like it's like it's not well maintained, I guess. And it like crushes your head in. And
Great,
then suddenly
great.
you like wake up and you're like 10 again. And you
Whoa,
wake up
no,
and you're like, what the hell? And your mom's like, all right, time to go to school, Aaron. And you're like, oh shit.
no,
And you
man,
realize that she's passed on the time curse, the time loop curse to you.
that's a year after my dad left. That's like one of the worst years of my life.
Yeah, and
10?
it's yeah, every single time. And you end up going through this time loop for like all of eternity. You're never able to get out of it.
Oh
So it
no.
just like continues and continues and continues, you know what I mean?
God, what a humiliating. Oh, God.
You never make it past no matter how many times you do it, you never make it past age 55, the day that you are cut in half by a runaway train.
Jesus Christ.
He gets you every time.
And then I loop back to when I was 10.
Yeah.
And then I live out the next 45 years until a train splits me in half.
Yeah, I mean, unless something, happen, you start experimenting after time, you just start believing you can never die. So,
You know what? That's probably the best ending I could have asked for.
yeah,
Because at some point, once I, I go in there with the knowledge that I have now,
yeah.
so at some point I make different decisions. My life turns out better. Sure, I die by train splitting in half at 55, but
So the thing is, and you're not really sure why this is, every time you do it, every time you do that, you think to yourself, "Oh, I'm gonna make it better." You just keep fucking up worse. Like every
God,
loop
what?
of the thing, life just gets worse and worse.
God,
But that runaway train is always waiting for you,
God,
no matter how bad things get.
that is awful. That's so grim.